is the Agnipath scheme the biggest bogey here. What we have started is a campaign to give justice to 1.5 lakh Agnipath aspirants, those who gave the exam, those who passed the rigors of the exam, those who could not sit for many of them, those who studied for it. They feel betrayed by the continuous process in which this Agnipath scheme has been rolled out. We have started a campaign. It was started by Rahul Gandhi ji during his Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra. It's called Yuva Nyay, on the 31st of January, to give justice to the Agnipath aspirants. There are 1.5 lakh of them. The whole problem actually stems from the lack of unemployment for the youth. I will just go, before I touch upon the scheme and the ways we are protesting it one by one, I will just touch upon the problem of unemployment, which was not mentioned in the union budget speech by the Honorable Finance Minister. She made absolutely no mention of it. Unemployment is the biggest challenge facing this country because the government, throughout its tenure, has failed to tackle it. One scheme after another has failed to provide employment. At the moment, there are 4 crore unemployed people. The PLFS figures show that the number of unemployed between the age group 15 and 29 is 10%. The number of unemployed graduates is under the age of 25 is a staggering 40%. Right? So if you graduate, there is no guarantee of any kind of job. Anyway, the ASE report, as you have read some time back on education, would have told you that the quality of education has suffered so much because the government in their budget has not even allocated any money. It has been continuously decreasing. So the opportunities for employment have continuously decreased. MSMEs have been constrained. There's lack of functioning over a period of time between COVID and before COVID. The government always takes the refuge of COVID to hide behind these figures, saying, well, COVID affected the entire world. We were also infected. But if you remember the headlines before COVID, unemployment levels were at a record 45-year high on the eve of COVID itself. So the government has absolutely no excuse for letting the unemployed population grow. The demographic dividend is a demographic disaster. Right? You have an aging, unemployed, poor population just growing old. The Prime Minister has reduced the Yuva category. He has called a new acronym which is called GYAN, right? In Gharib, Yuva, Annadata, and then Nari. So he's reduced these categories in the Yuva category to an electoral category, nothing else, right? There is no benefit to the unemployed youth. And time and again, he's talking about them, but nothing, of course, is being done. In fact, opportunities for employment are being more and more constrained. Right. So I will now talk about the Agnipath scheme, what it basically was, and what its faults are, and how we are protesting against it. The opportunities that the government has found for providing youth, because it can't do anything, it cannot raise the GDP growth, it has no idea of macroeconomics. All its schemes like Make in India, Startup India, demonetization, the rollout of the GST, the destruction of the MSMEs, the lockdowns that happened, the pandemic itself had destroyed opportunities for employment in this country. What the Prime Minister is trying to do is, through its bogies like a Rozgar Mela, he periodically does a Rozgar Mela in which he hands out certain kind of appointments. We don't know any idea what these appointments are. There is no white paper on unemployment as yet. We demand that the government gives it. And then a scheme like Agnipath, which completely has changed and transformed the way the army recruitment process has happened. That Agnipath scheme, as mentioned by ex-army chiefs and many experts, military experts, and ex-servicemen is not a scheme which is worth doing in this country, because it leaves in the lurch a number of people who are taken into the army. They have no future, they have no future prospects. I will go into them one by one. But first, let me mention what we are doing in this regard. So our scheme is a campaign to help those people, to reach out to those people who are affected by the Agnipath scheme of the government, right? Those who have been left out in the cold, those who have no prospects for the future. We take unemployment of youth and the youth not as an electoral category for a constituency for elections, but our wealth, our present, our future, our potential, our energy. And that is the category, and therefore we feel that justice must be given to them. The scheme has a number of components in which we want to help them out. The first component is Sampark. Since the scheme was launched on the 31st of January, the first component is Sampark, which actually means reaching out to those families. There are 30 lakh families which we are going to reach out in this regard, interact with them, establish contact with them. Then in the next phase is the Satyagraha phase, right, in which we go out and protest. All our ex-servicemen who are affiliated to the party, and we'll reach out to others. The ex-servicemen, we have an ex-servicemen department, will go out and have protests in Jantar Mantar, in Shaheed or Gandhi Chowks in each city. You know that almost in every city or small town in India, there is a Shaheed Chowk or a Gandhi Chowk. We will go out there and protest against this bogey of the government called the Agnipath scheme, which has left lakhs and lakhs of youth disappointed and out in the cold with no opportunities and avenues for future growth or prospects. And then we have Yatras. That's the third phase of that particular scheme. We'll give you all this brief in detail later. Yatras which will be taken out from each district for a distance of 50 kilometers in each particular district as a part of this kind of protest to bring justice to the youth. Apart from that, we also have a website where you can register. You can also give a missed call to be a part of this movement of justice. Remember that the Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra, which is now somewhere in Odisha, already having passed through 55 districts, almost 9 states, it's from there, from Manipur to Mumbai. Nyaya is a critical word in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Nyaya Dena. It's a critical word in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and the Yuva Nyaya is a critical component of our entire campaign to give justice to the youth. This is the biggest problem, unemployment facing the youth. I just want to say, well, why is Agnipath scheme such a bogey? Why do youth feel shortchanged by this particular scheme? Well, first of all, the attractiveness of the scheme has diminished, of recruitment in the army has diminished ever since the scheme came. I mean, earlier in 2022-23, in that particular year, the number of aspirants or applicants who wanted to be in the Indian Army, imagine being in the Indian Army, were almost 34 lakh. That has come down in this particular year, 23-24, to barely 10 lakh. So what the scheme has done is reduce the attractiveness also to enter the army, apart from its many loopholes, faults and lacunas, which I'll just go through very briefly. The other point is you get no benefits. You get no medical benefits, you get no gratuity, there is no benefit of being an ex-serviceman. You don't get any sort of martyrdom. You're not even recognized. If you lose your life for the sake of this country, you're not recognized as a martyr. And because you're not recognized as a martyr, the families of the people who have sacrificed themselves do not get any kind of benefit from that scheme. Also, you don't have, the salaries are much less. I mean, they're almost half of that of regular army recruits who are employed through the regular way. Then you have no prospects for the future. After 4 years of serving this country, you are out, you do not get a job. The skills that you have developed lay waste, and you have to develop more skills, and perhaps in a way start life all over again. It does not help the youth of this country. It does not help the unemployed. I'm saying again, the demographic dividend has turned into an absolute demographic disaster by these policies of this government. The Prime Minister keeps talking about the poor people and giving false numbers by the Niti Aayog, which says 23 or 24 crore people have been taken out of poverty. That is absolutely false. Can you imagine that at a time of demonetization, at a time of when there was GST being rolled out, at a time of destruction of the MSEs, at a time of 2 lockdowns, at a time of the pandemic where people lost their savings, at a time of high price rise and high employment, do you think that the poverty levels in this country could have possibly come down? Absolutely no. So this is what I wanted to draw your attention on unemployment, on Yuva Nyay, and what the Congress campaign is doing as a part of the Yuva campaign, as a part of the Bharat Jodo Nyay campaign, which has been launched to provide unemployment to the youth of this country, and the protests which we are going to undertake to ensure that that happens. Our demands are to reinstate the old recruitment system and give justice to those people, take in those people who have already cleared and taken that exam and now are asked to fend for themselves. So with that, I will end this presser on this very important, critical topic and challenge which is facing this country, youth unemployment, the Agnipath scheme, and what the Congress is doing about it. Thank you very much.
Dr. Anshul Avijit Rauru is the grandson of Dr. Babu Jagajeevan Ram. He was the Deputy Prime Minister of India and son of Madam Meera Kumar. We are very happy to receive Mr. Anshul here. He addressed very well. Thank you very much, sir. If any questions is there, you can put.
Even the Agnipath,
Yeah.
understood that they can go for a regular recruitment after the program. One thing. And then they will get a preferable appointment in any other.
No. They promised 75 people to be reinstated in that. So they said that our intake after this 4-year period gets over will be 75%. They suddenly, while rolling out the scheme, change it to 25%. And you will find out that even that is not happening. So while that may be theoretically true on paper, that is not happening, sir. So that's why the scheme is full of lacunas. It is just a bogey. It is there because of the failures of this government to address the problem of youth unemployment, which is not even being spoken about. This is a major issue. We have to speak about it, and we have to bring out what the failures of this government and what their schemes are. Not a single scheme. The Rozgar Mela that the Prime Minister keeps doing periodically. I mean, it's just, do you have any idea of how many people are being recruited? Is there a lateral entry? How many appointment letters are there? These are just vacancies which the Prime Minister is filling up. Right? So every scheme has failed of this government.
It is a temporary solution for unemployment.
Yes. It is not even a solution. And what you have done is completely transform the structure recruitment process of the army, in which many people are against it. You don't get any benefits. You get no medical, get no gratuity, canteen benefits, ex-serviceman status. The family doesn't benefit anything from what you're doing. So, serving your country is a matter of great pride, but you're not even recognized as a martyr. That's absolutely shameful.
Thank you. Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Sure.